The Lumix S5II X is such a fantastic camera that's amazing for shooting photos and videos, but it especially crushes it in the video department. And in this video, we're going to talk about all my favorite lenses and camera gear to use with the Lumix S5II X. And I love this camera so much, I actually sold all my Sony gear and I ended up buying two of them. So right now, we're shooting with my main rig and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we're using on it. And I'm also going to show a couple of my other favorite lenses to shoot with. So the S5II X is a full frame L-mount camera by Panasonic, and the feature I love about it the most is that you can record straight to SSD drives. So to do this, I've rigged out my camera with a cage. I'm using the Neewer half cage. I love that it has a NATO rail on the top of it, and it also has an Arca quick release on the bottom. So that makes it really easy to set up with my different tripod rigs, to add it to my slider, just to change from one thing to the next. If you're interested in buying any of the gear we're talking about in this video, I do have links in the description below. Another thing I really like to do is shoot everything in OpenGate 6K. That way I have more resolution to crop in and out. And also I can do multiple versions of a crop if I'm shooting videos for social media or for short form content. So then once you get the camera, there are several lenses I really like. I've gotten to use most of the S primes, but I personally own the 24mm f1.8 that I have on this camera. And we also have the 35mm 1.8 that we're shooting with right now. And I love both of these lenses. I just pick which one depending on how I need to frame out my shot and how much space I have between me and the camera. So if I have the camera a little bit farther away, the 35 works just fine. If I have it closer and I need to show off a whole workspace like right now, I'll typically go for the 24. I also do really want to try the 18mm someday. My other lenses that I find myself going to the most are probably the Lumix 24-105 f4 macro IS, and this lens is just a beast. It is kind of big. Whenever you go all the way into 105mm, it does extend quite a bit, and it's heavier than the primes as well. It's got a bigger filter thread on the top of it as well. But this lens does an amazing job shooting handheld footage because it does have that image stabilization built straight in. The autofocus on it works really well with the S5II X as well. So I find with this lens, I'm able to get pretty much any type of B-roll shot I want. And if you go all the way into 105, you're able to get a really blurry background if you're doing some close-up shots of gear. So the 24-105 just really speeds up my workflow because I do usually shoot with a lot of light, and I find the camera does just fine even shooting at a higher ISO as well. This also works really well for shooting slow-mo footage, having that 60 frames a second. Even with the crop, you're just able to get really good footage that's stabilized with both the stabilization in the camera and in the lens. So this is my favorite lens of all time. The other two lenses I have is I have the 14-28 and I also have the 20-60. So the 20-60 just came with the camera and I thought about selling it, but honestly this is a really useful lens to have lying around. Probably the biggest annoyance with this lens is the fact that the aperture does change all the way from 3.5 to 5.6 whenever you have it zoomed in all the way. But at 20mm at 3.5, that's really useful. So just be careful when you use this because the aperture change can mess you up. The autofocus works well on it, and it's a pretty lightweight lens as well, so this is very useful to have around. The 14-28 also has a variable aperture. It goes from f4 all the way to f5.6. I typically just set the aperture on this to 5.6, and I mostly use this when I'm shooting really close or I need to get a wide scene in. I also shoot a lot of real estate with this lens, and it's been a lot of fun to work with as well. Has really good autofocus performance, and it's really lightweight for being such a wide angle lens. And another nice thing is when you zoom it, it doesn't extend. So now that we've talked about lenses in the camera, let's talk about audio. I have two different mics I like to use with this. The first one I'm using right now is the Sennheiser MKH50, and I currently have it boomed just out of frame. I just really like the sound of this microphone. I find that it has almost a three-dimensional sound to it, and it just does a great job. I pair it with the Lumix DMW XLR1 interface, so this allows me to capture high-quality audio and to have phantom power going straight into the camera with the hot shoe on the microphone. If you're interested in any of this gear, I'm going to have links for all of it in the description below, as well as some of my other dedicated review videos where we talk more about these individual accessories. Another thing that's nice about the XLR1 is you can actually run it in 4-channel mode. So I also just got the Rode Wireless Pro, and there's sometimes when I'll clip it on and I'll run it into the mic input jack on the side of the camera so I can record with the boomed audio, and I can also have a lab mic on as well, so I have two different sources of audio just in case there's any issues. In the last couple of years, I've really gotten into using a cage with my camera because I really like the built-in Arca plate on the bottom of it. And the cage that I've been using the most with the S5II X is actually a half cage by Neewer. What I really like about this cage is it has the Arca plate on the bottom and it has a NATO rail that's built directly into the top. So this just allows me to easily attach accessories to the top and side of the camera while still allowing me to access all the buttons on the right side of it. So I really like that Neewer cage. I'm also running the Condor Blue Pro Blade handle on it as well. I'm really into the Pro Blade system of SSDs. I have videos about those that you should check out as well. It's really nice because you're able to get a 1 TB drive and you can record the high quality 6K footage directly to it, and then you're able to offload it really fast. And the pricing on those SSDs is just a lot better than any of the fast SD cards you're able to get. Really like using that setup. I also ended up buying the Condor Blue top handle extender because this allows me to use it with the XLR adapter on top as well. So that extender definitely comes in handy. The next set of accessories is actually built on the SmallRig Mini V-mount plate. And this allows me to attach this big battery to the back, run power to my camera through a dummy battery, power my external monitor as well. And this just makes the camera run for much longer, and it's just really convenient and easy to use. And my camera with the cage just snaps directly into it. So I really like that SmallRig system. I'm using a Neewer battery right now and I've had no issues with it. Works phenomenally and just keeps the camera powered for a really long time. I do really like to use the top handle on the camera. Sometimes I also put a left side handle on. The biggest problem with using the left side handle is it kind of gets in the way of the screen. So typically if I'm getting handheld footage, I find that just the top handle is enough, but sometimes having the left side handle too comes in handy. Now for support gear, I'm using a couple different accessories. The main tripod I like to use is the iFootage TA6B. What I really like about it is it has this built-in leveling head, so you just open this lever and you can quickly level the camera out without having to adjust the different legs on it. It also has an adjustable height center column as well. And then there's even a thread on the side of it that I attach a magic arm to. And then I like to use my Ninja V monitor on this tripod as well, just so I can see myself a little bit better if it's hard to see the built-in LCD on the camera. I also just got the Elgato prompter. I'm currently filming with it right now. I really like it and I am just using it directly threaded onto my 35mm lens. Now to shoot B-roll with this camera, I really like to use the iFootage Shark Slider Nano. This just makes it so easy to attach the camera. You set an in point, you set an out point, and you're able to actually rotate the camera as well. So I can get a lot of really great shots with it. The biggest con to the Shark Slider Nano is it is prone to jittering if you don't get the camera balanced on it well. So I do have to be really careful whenever I attach the camera, and if I use the 24-105 that I make sure it's slid into the right spot with the plate on it. But that combo gets me so many great macro shots. I'm able to go wide, get a wide panning shot, and then you can also get a tight detail shot sliding towards or past an item. I use that in pretty much every single one of my videos. And then sometimes I also will use the 14 to 28mm to get some B-roll shots as well if I want to get more of the background in it. Other than that, I don't really use primes to shoot B-roll as much because I'm typically shooting up close. I need to have the macro capabilities that these two lenses have. And of course, last but not least is lighting. I'm using a variety of different lights. I almost always am using a lantern light, but right now I'm using a key light with the lantern, and then I'm also using a fill light with the softbox on it as well, just because I find that the more light you're able to get into the scene and getting it spread a little bit more evenly, it's just going to look a bit better. I've been using lights from Neewer, from Amaran. I've used some iFootage lights as well. I find that pretty much any of the lights that are on the market today are good. I typically find myself leaning more towards daylight temperature lights because it's just easier to get good color out of those, but there are plenty of good bicolor lights on the market as well. I also have this Neewer RGB light, and for my main desk setup, typically I'll point it at the back wall and I'll set it to a color, and this just does a great job at adding a splash of color to the background to just separate me from the gray wall a little bit better as well. So there's all the gear and accessories I'm using with my Lumix S5II X camera. I hope this video has helped you to see some of the different lenses I like to use and what might be useful for you if you're shooting on Lumix, or some of these accessories are applicable to pretty much any camera brand. But I hope you learned something and hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions, leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Like this video, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. And if you're interested in picking up any of this gear, I do have links for all of it in the description below.